And once you start to really meditate, you find a peace within yourself. And when you find that peace within yourself, you realize that that peace is less lonely than any other type of way of being, and that's attributed to a higher power. So it's like all kind of wrapped up in this nice little package. You start meditating, you start to understand what it feels like to be connected to everything, everyone, when you're in that deep meditation state. And I believe it opens up something within us to better identify what we're doing here and why we're here.
Aloha and welcome to another show, guys. I'm thrilled to be joined by Tiffany Haney. She's the creator of Rooted Frequency podcast. Tiffany is an expert in exploring the connections between energy, frequency, crystals, intuition, and so much more. In this episode, we are diving deep into the world of energy alignment, how frequency impacts our lives, and the powerful tools and practices Tiffany uses to help others connect with their authentic selves. Whether you're curious about crystals, or you want to better understand intuition, or just looking to align your energy in this chaotic world, this episode is for you. Before we dive in, guys, don't forget to follow, share, and leave a positive review. Your support helps this podcast to grow and reach more people like us out there. Now, without further ado, let's welcome Tiffany to the show. But the very beginning of my podcast, it was supposed to be more health and esoteric, crystals, meditation, things like that. And it kind of went a little bit of a different way. So I'm just kind of going with the flow.
Well, that's, I think that's like everything for creation, right?
Yeah.
Like it's
sure.
going to morph. Like anything businesses, whatever, you're not going to stay this, you're going to grow, you're going to change, you're going to realize what your niche is. If you ever find it, I don't know.
I don't.
I guess some podcasts seem to find it, but
yeah,
I feel like I just am all over the place.
Like, me too. I don't know. I'm all over.
Yeah.
But
that interests my mind. Like as a listener, I'm all over the place. So if I find a podcast that I like and they talk about a million different things, I like that.
Yeah, kind of like Coast to Coast. I don't know if you listen to Coast to Coast. They're kind of all over the place too, which I like. They kind of stay in that strange phenomenon kind of way, which is fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you, Tiffany. I really appreciate you coming on the show today. I know you're very busy. No, so welcome, aloha, as we say here in Hawaii. And I'm really excited to have you here today because I've been really looking forward to diving into the fascinating works that you do and hearing your thoughts on topics like frequency and energy alignment and so much more. And it's very relaxing listening to your podcast because you have this soothing voice and soothing way of talking. So I really enjoy that. I really enjoy listening to you. So again, thank you again for coming on and sharing your time with us.
Absolutely.
To start, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what inspired you to create the Rooted Frequency podcast?
Yes, I started with not podcasting. So I was just a yoga teacher, stay-at-home mom. I have two boys. And in 2021, I had a spiritual download. I was like standing in my kitchen and all of a sudden I was like, I'm opening up a wellness center. And I didn't know exactly what that would entail. In my head, I knew it wasn't going to be an actual like wellness center, but I was opening something. And I called my husband and said, I'm opening up a like some sort of wellness community center and I'm doing it. And he was like, okay. Like he was on board. I guess it was actually early 2022 because, yeah, because it really moved fast, basically. Because I decided to do this, I got like a realtor and found a space, and all in the span of like I found a space within 4 days. And basically I was just all in. I used to work in like corporate America, and I drained my IRA and put it all just into this and went all in and opened the space in Strongsville, Ohio. Holistic Healing and Crystals is what it's called, in October 2022. And from there, it's evolved quite a bit from just being a space for kind of like your standard healing. I kind of just started embracing more of my like woo woo, which at first I was a little nervous because everyone knew me as, just a mom, and I worried people would think that I was crazy if I started saying I'm giving readings and I'm doing energy healing. But after a while, it was funny because I was trying to find a balance. I wanted the space not to be intimidating to people who were newer or going through some sort of awakening. Because that is a lot of feedback when people go to different crystal shops, that sometimes they're too like quote unquote witchy, or that they feel like they're out of place. And I wanted it to be kind of a space where absolutely anybody could wander in and relate in some way. But the things that people kept booking were all of the woo woo stuff. And we had like workshops and different things like making moon water, and of course like all of the psychic readings, and I read oracle decks, and these were the things that were getting booked. So I kind of just was like, well, I guess this is what I wanted to do, and this is the universe telling me this is what I need to be doing, this is what the community wants. So I just kind of went all in and shifted to that. In regards to the podcast, I actually got into it from someone else who had like, and I loved listening to podcasts. That was how I, especially like given with like little kids, you can put your earbuds in, play Legos, and, listen to something in one ear and learn little tidbits. So I always loved them, but I never thought about doing podcasting. And it's funny because I actually always couldn't stand my voice. I always thought that when I heard it on and listening back, I was like, oh, that's so awful. I have the worst voice. And this person wanted to start a podcast with me, and I was like, okay, I know nothing about this, but sure, I like talking. So it was really fun, but both of us were really busy. We did like 3 episodes, and it was just like not, our schedules were not in alignment, and I started getting really super into it, and I wanted to put them out more often. So I was like, okay, I'll just make my own podcast, and that's what happened. The other podcast did not work out, and then I just started doing my own. And then it was funny because the more I listened, I was like, I said to my husband, I'm like, I actually sound okay. He's like, yeah, you do. That's weird. He's like, you have like a podcast voice. And I was like, yeah, I know. I guess it's just using my meditation yoga voice is like what is my podcast voice. But yeah, that's how that happened. And it's been a nice little addition to Holistic Healing and Crystals, my physical space, so that people can not only be in person for different touch points, but have something that they ongoing, when you need a meditation, when you need some sort of spiritual advice or enlightenment. So that's kind of what Rooted Frequency is. I try to do a mix of meditations, of affirmations. I am a giant believer of affirmations. I think that if you do anything in life, you have to be saying affirmations. Game changer in life. But so I have a few of those. And then also because once your third eye is open, obviously it like starts to spiral to a lot of different topics. So there's always, like, I like to say, there's a sprinkle of conspiracy theory in my podcast. But yeah, and then just exploring spiritual topics. So
Yeah, I
that's
love your
that's me.
podcast, and you have a beautiful voice. You really do. It's very soothing. Um, and in the very beginning of my podcast, I did a lot of the affirmation and stuff like that as well. Not it's not on YouTube, it's only on Spotify and Apple. Um, but yes, that was I enjoyed doing that, but I wasn't getting a lot of listeners maybe at the time. So I kind of branched out into a little bit of other things. But I guess what you talk about a lot as well is energy alignment.
Mm.
And that's something I think you speak often about. What does that mean to be in alignment? And how can, I guess, how can we be in that alignment? How can we recognize that maybe we're not in alignment?
That's a really good question. I think that it's a combo of things. When we are in alignment, the best way to be able to identify that is that we are easily going down our path. And how do you know, like, that it's your path? Well, things just seem to fall into place. And I think everyone has glimmers of that anyway. Regardless of if you believe what you believe, we have glimmers of where you're just kind of like on a roll. And then and naturally, life is going to have its ups and downs regardless. But when we are grounded into who we should be and have an understanding of purpose, it truly clicks. And I do think that it's not like, yes, the concept of getting into that flow state with your energy is kind of abstract, but the way to get there is not so abstract. There's absolute concrete ways to get there. And I think one of the biggest ways is starting with meditation. You know? And once you start to really meditate, you find a peace within yourself. And when you find that peace within yourself, you realize that that peace is less lonely than any other type of way of being, and that's attributed to a higher power. So it's like all kind of wrapped up in this nice little package. You start meditating, you start to understand what it feels like to be connected to everything, everyone, when you're in that deep meditation state. And I believe it opens up something within us to better identify what we're doing here and why we're here. And while we will never completely answer that in this lifetime, I don't think so. We don't need to. It's more about a feeling and an energy because absolutely everything is energy and everything is frequency. So once you can understand that plugging in to all that is, and I think the basis foundation of that is meditation again, then you can start to build on that beautiful foundation with learning to manifest, which is always kind of a fun next step because it is fun to put your sights on something and then have it come to fruition. Very exciting. And then once that happens, then people always start noticing all the synchronicities, all of the angel numbers and the you're thinking of someone and they call you that second. It's like all of these things are like these little energy tethers that we're plugging deeper into one another. And in doing so, the universe responds well. And the universe does not speak words, it speaks energy. So if we're kind of going along our merry way and plugged into everything and feeling connected and feeling good, the universe wants to give us more good. That's all it sees is like, you're doing good. I'm going to give you more good. And that's, then you're like, wow, like really didn't think I was going to get that job. And, looking back, losing that other job, it was all meant to be. Like you see all the, this pattern, and it's like the universe kind of takes you by the shoulders and starts steering you down your path. And I think, again, we get overwhelmed by thinking, how do I get on my path? How do I align my energy? But it's like we just need to slow down and put all those little processes in place. And that is what like people like you and I are doing with these podcasts, is introducing people to a lot of different ways to do that, because there isn't one way to meditate. There isn't one way to do affirmations. The beautiful thing is there's a million different ways. And so many people are like, I'm not going to meditate. I cannot slow my brain. That is not going to happen. And I say, well, have you done, your whole life physically? Because usually, like when people are kids, they did some sort of sport or whatnot. I mean, anything, if you do like played football or played basketball or you were a swimmer or ran track, you can recall these times and moments when you were just in sync with your body and there was very little thought going on. Like it was the best game of your life and you were just in the zone. And it happens with professional, sports players all the time. They're in a state of moving meditation. They're plugged in, I mean, I guess it can happen in a million other different things that are random, but also another common one is like anything creative. When we're really tapped into that sacral space, that sacral chakra, which is the space right below your belly button. That's our space of creation. So it's like we're creating energy, we're creating the life we want. And that's as simple as people just sewing. So, there's just so many different ways. And there's a reason why we feel a certain way when we do these activities. It's because we are vibrating at a higher frequency. When we're vibrating at a high frequency, we're going to attract better things.
Yeah, I agree. And like you said there, for me anyway, it can be hard to meditate because I can't quiet my brain. But for me, what I found that helps is by humming, by making that humming sound. So you push your tongue up above the roof of your mouth, and when you make that hum, it vibrates, like you were saying, that vibration, but this is a literal vibration that will hit your pituitary gland, your third eye, and it helps to get you in that zone because it's hard to get in that. For me, it's hard for me to get in that zone, but for humming, it helps. And I read a book. I think it was called Humming, and he talks about the vibration of humming and how it can cure, you know, um, I don't want to say diseases, but it can cure a lot of things because you're humming, you're trying to get into the alignment, which is quite interesting. Um,
Absolutely.
Crystals,
And
yeah.
with
Oh,
the humming really quick, um,
yeah.
I think there's so much that we were God given that, and we're always seeking things outside of ourselves. It's almost like we're a human tuning fork,
Hmm.
So, and I do healing. If people don't know what those are, I mean, it's basically like this metal, um, almost like a goalpost, but like a thin kind of, and then you put the end on different parts of people's bodies, and they vibrate at different frequencies, and you can lightly hear them.
Wow.
But it's remarkable the things that you can do with these, and it's ancient healing that was used for thousands of years, and that Western medicine has chosen to overlook. But people are
Hmm.
coming back to it, I feel like. But I've always said, like when I love humming because like when you're really, really angry or something, and sometimes like you're frustrated, and naturally people will be like, 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 and kind of like just press sound out. Like there's a reason. I think our bodies know what to do, and we spend all day fighting them. And our body's like, okay, just hum and get it out. Or like I always my family members, if you could tell they were like kind of getting super frustrated or something, they'd say something but like sing it. And I do the same thing with my kids sometimes. Um, because it's like sound. And I believe it's because we are not meant to use our mouths to communicate. We are meant to use our mouths for sound, and we're meant to telepathically communicate. But that ability has been taken away from us. And I think that's, how ancient civilizations communicated, and that's how they literally healed, changed massive objects, not massive, but the mass of. I thought that kind of blurred together. But like, pyramids and stuff, that they would use vibration and sound to make it pretty much float like bricks, and be able to build these structures. Um, and that we've lost that. But there's a part of us that wants to use it again, and that's why we do have moments of telepathy and moments of, you're saying exactly what I was thinking, or did all those things, because we're all connected.
Yes, that's interesting. You talk about the vibration and moving things. I believe the same thing. Absolutely. We did lose that technology. I just spoke to a gentleman the other day, Ed Mabry, and he spoke about the same thing about the frequency of light and the frequency of vibration, how the that's how God brought forth the world
Mhm.
by speaking, but that vibration. So exactly what you're saying. Same very thing. It's incredible. Yeah. Do you think crystals, I know you speak about crystals and you have a crystal shop. Does that help with frequency too and energy with people?
Yes. I always tell everyone who comes in looking for different crystals, first off, to go around and touch everything and pick them up. I believe that they are another tool that's been put on the earth for us to utilize. They have their own properties, and some are more porous, some are going to really absorb different things, and these are just scientific fact. That certain like shungite, for example, is one that it's a black crystal that can absorb radiation. So, they can see this. That's why all over my house I have shungite next to all of our, like, Wi-Fi that's slowly frying our brains. I tried to get off Wi-Fi. It is really difficult. Maybe if you have like a ton of money to be able to have someone come in and wire your house, but I thought it would be so simple. I was like, because I went on a big thing with my husband. I like, it's like, oh, we're getting rid of the Wi-Fi, and I did, and then we're like, oh, yeah, it's really difficult. So now we have Wi-Fi again, but I put shungite everywhere. Um, but that's an example, or just how clear quartz is an amplifier. So if you want to amplify any other crystal, or amplify your energy, or amplify your intentions, that's an awesome one. So all the other crystals kind of in between are interesting too, because a lot of times we'll associate one crystal and kind of put it in this box that, like, oh, amethyst, that's for anxiety. Well, amethyst is for a million different things. Like, amethyst is actually a great protection crystal, and nobody ever really brings it up for that. So when people come in to look, I need something for anxiety, I like to be like, well, first look around. Like, what are you drawn to? Because our eyes will immediately, hone in on something usually. okay, so you're drawn to the blues. Like, let's, look at these different crystals. And then I'm like, pick them up. And they're like, I don't know why I just love this one. And I'm like, well, that's because that is like perfect for you. So we know so much more than we think we do with crystals, with energy, with meditation, with healing. So many things come back to learning to trust yourself again. Yes, we are awakening. Yes, we are growing, but we're remembering, you know? So, like so much of that work that I do with people, because I do mentoring as well, one-on-one within my space, is them remembering who they are.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
really cool. I'd like to get into that someday too with you. That's really interesting.
Well, again, it's within you. So, you know,
Wow.
I like to give everyone like the tools to start, and then I'm like,
Yeah.
go do it. Go be amazing.
And the crystals, like you were saying, when
Mhm.
I go to a crystal shop and when I pick one up, it's almost like I don't want to say it's calling me, but it feels like I feel the energy. I can feel it and I get a tinge, I guess is how I can explain it, through my arms when I pick it up and in my gut. A feeling like, I don't know, this feeling, energy, I guess, is what I'm feeling. And I'm like, this is the one. This is the one I need. I don't know why, but this is calling me. So I'll go around, like you said, I'll pick it up, and whichever one gives me that feeling, that's the one I'm taking.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
I'm not sure if that's a vibration or if that's intuition or all the above.
I think a combo of both, yeah, because we all vibrate a little different. It's almost like
Mm,
I like to say we all have like a vibrational thumbprint,
mm,
and that's not going to change, but we can rise in vibration, but that print is still there. And when we put that print with, also these crystals all have their own little print and their own little personalities. I always like to name them. I talk to them because I figure, plants do better when people talk and sing to them. So my crystals, they shine brighter when I talk to them too. But that's, I think, the reason why we can't put crystals in a box and say they only do this. And because it's going to interact with your energy in a particular way. So picking
yeah,
them up is the only way to really sense that.
yeah, I agree. I agree. Um, Not to go back a little, but you were speaking about tuning forks, and
Mm.
you said that you put the tuning forks in certain parts of the body and it vibrates, and that's without hitting it?
No, I hit it. Yeah,
Okay.
so like I use my palm, but you can, a lot of people
Oh,
use they're almost like hockey pucks that you can bounce it up, but I
ah,
just tap it on my palm. And
okay.
then I put crystals on people's bodies so
Mm-hmm.
that when I put the tuning fork on the crystal, it'll vibrate throughout the entire body. And then it essentially, like, I believe, again, everyone is a healer, that everyone just heals in different ways, and that every job, every platform is an opportunity to heal within it, whether you be a healer through story, you're an author, or whether you be a healer through speaking, or actually, vibrational healing or Reiki. People just need to tune into how their instrument works, I guess. And I have learned kind of to hone mine into how other people's bodies are communicated to me. So it's pretty interesting when working with people who want to start healing.
Hey, Ohana, I hope you're loving this conversation as much as I am. I just wanted to pause for a quick moment to ask for your support. If you're enjoying what you're hearing and feel like we've earned it, we We'd be so grateful if you could leave us a rating or review. Your honest feedback really helps us grow and reach more people who love exploring these fascinating topics. And if you think this episode would resonate with someone you know, don't forget to share it with them. Mahalo nui loa for being part of our journey. Now, back to the show.
It's pretty interesting when working with people who want to start healing, and when you start to ask them to start thinking about energy and frequency, because a lot of times we don't put too much thought into these things. For example, when I work with my highest self versus my spirit guides, I have kind of like mapped everything when I do work to know where messages are coming from and to identify different sounds and frequencies, things that I hear. And when I hear, it's 99% of the time all through my third eye, not actually audibly, but some people do hear things audibly. But like my highest self is always in my upper right hand corner. My guides are always in my upper left hand corner. When I work with archangels, I can feel a like sort of a whooshing wing power come up behind me. When I work with my ancestors, it's a very rooted energy down into the ground. And like just source in general is kind of very crown chakra. But I was just working with one mentee who we discovered the reason she was having so much trouble over the years with other people she's worked with or listening to guided meditations, she couldn't connect to her higher self. And finally I said, I don't even feel, well, in our first session, I said, I don't feel like you have anything going on up there, like energy wise above your head. I think you need to root into your highest self. And she's like, is that why I always feel like I need to go down through the earth? And she goes, every time I meditate, I want to go down into these trees. And I was like, do that then. Like that naturally you know like what to do. Guided meditations are amazing. And the other amazing thing is there's a million different kinds. But just because, 90% of people can kind of get to a certain place one way doesn't mean that you have any, a lot of times people come out of that being frustrated and they why can't I reach the next level? Why do I put in all this work and other people are getting all these intuitive messages and I get nothing? And then they get frustrated and then they put up blockages. And these blockages end up being within the body as well. So it's like our body, our auras, our energy, it's all connected. And while you can go to I think it's great to go to people to kind of get like a big head start. So you go to a Reiki healer. Yes, you'll feel great afterwards. You do a few sessions. The majority of us can't afford to do all of these things all the time. If you can, awesome, go for it. But I think even if you can afford it, we're still meant to learn and start to understand how to work with our own energy. It's like you can't go to a therapist and just have them talk to you and be healed. You have to do the work. So same thing with energy. And so after people come and we'll do our crystal energy healing, I'm always like, I stirred a bunch of stuff up. I pulled some stuff out of you. If you go home and just continue to do everything you've been doing, you just put those blockages right back in the body. It's not a permanent fix. Like I'm not removing an organ, although, sometimes people have weird organs that grow back too. So we're very powerful, so you're just going to put that right back. So if you're not willing to put in the work with all of these things, then you're not going to see, that much gain, I guess.
Yeah, you're right. Yes. Intuition, that's another theme that you teach. How do you personally cultivate and trust your intuition, especially in today's noisy world?
Meditation. It's the foundation. People need to be meditating. Again, you can always start with those moving meditations. It's like once you start meditating, you'll start to allow yourself to go deeper into it. Then, do the guided meditations. I always say you can put them on the nighttime ones. Go to sleep with a guided meditation in your ear. It's a great starting place. But once again, you learn how to be mindful and alone with yourself and be mindful of your energy, it opens up all of those doors. You start to be more mindful about the difference between your gut instincts versus like your head. We spend so much time in our heads, like when we have the easiest one is when we have gut instincts about people. And then our head's like, oh, I need to give them another chance. And then they end up completely, proving you right the first time. And how many times do we do that over and over again? But the more we can decipher the difference, oftentimes I find that people don't even go that far, that they're just making decisions. And when I step back and ask them, well, what does your gut say? What does your heart say? What does your head say? There's usually different answers. And if we can stay out of our head, which meditation helps, again, mindfulness, intuition kind of comes strolling in. And from there, it's a lot easier to start this relationship with who you want to work with. So you could just stop at intuition. Often though, people want to start working on that intuition third eye for a manifestation or channeled messaging. And they're all possible. They're all possible to everyone. Journaling is one of the best ways to start to trust the things that come through. A lot of times, like I'll meditate, or even if I don't have a ton of time, just ground myself, and or do some breath work real quick and just start writing. And at the beginning, it's you, but then it just like things will just start flowing out of you so easily. And all of a sudden, you've written 2 pages. And when you go back and read it, it's usually some of the nicest stuff that you've ever said to yourself, which is how you know it's coming from your highest self, because we're all not very kind to ourselves, because it's always usually pretty uplifting, like the messaging that comes through it. So that is another way that I always encourage everyone. But again, it all kind of goes together, meditation, journaling, and the trust, I think, just comes with practice. They have to stick with it, because there's no magical formula to just immediately trust the messaging coming through. Even when you first start giving like readings, which is another way to work with your third eye and your intuition, if you're comfortable doing so. I know some people are not comfortable with oracle decks or tarot cards, and I think if you're not comfortable with it, don't do it, because you don't want to. Anything can be a low vibration, and anything can be bad. It's all our intention. So if you do things from a grounded place of love and light, then that's what it's for. But if you want to do like daily card pulls, like you get just, and so many oracle, I like working with oracle, but just like for an uplifting, like maybe an angel to work with for the day, or an uplifting affirmation, like they make all of those different decks. And that is a kind of a cool way to start to tap into source, and whatever you want to call source, which is so tethered to our intuition, because all those intuitive messages are coming from something higher,
Yeah. Have you ever heard of forest bathing? Shinrin
Yes.
yoku? Yeah.
I
Japanese.
mhm. I have a practitioner at our space, Faye. She is certified, and she also is a sound healer. So it's an amazing, amazing practice.
That's really cool. What is the difference between tarot and oracle cards?
So tarot is the same set of cards that in every single deck. Well, you may see different illustrations on them. You could have angel tarot where they kind of, whoever the author of the cards are, assigns an angel to each card, but it's you're still going to have your normal suits, your wands, your pentacles, swords, and your what am I forgetting? Oh, and your cups. So, and this is where also you've always heard, like most people are familiar from movies and whatnot, like the Fool or the Magician. These are standard cards. They're going to be in every single tarot deck. Tarot is a lot older than Oracle. It used to actually be, well, there's a lot of different schools of thought on where it originated, and which kind of tribes or ancient groups started it. But if we're talking about just like how it came kind of to America or modern day, it used to be like a game that they would bring to high society parties. And so it was kind of like a parlor trick or a game that they would play. And gradually, messaging that came through these, people started getting more interested. And then it kind of moved into being more of a prophetic, tool or whatnot. So tarot is always those same major and minor arcana cards. And then Oracle is anything you want in the world. Anybody could design an Oracle deck. And there's probably one for every single thing you could possibly think. So if you're super into fairies, you could get a fairy Oracle deck, and it's not going to be a set number of cards either. Tarot is always the same, 78 cards. And then Oracle deck, it could be 10 cards. It could be 50 cards. It just depends on the person who created the deck. And then both will come with some sort of guidebook to assist you in how you read them. But Oracle is a lot of times a little bit more vague and open to interpretation, which is what I like as an intuitive reader, because I like to have wiggle room in the messaging that comes through. And I also find tarot can be very overwhelming for people. But it is interesting because usually people are drawn to one or the other. I created my own Oracle deck, so that's what I do readings from. Yeah.
Cool. Can we get that on your shop? Do you sell that
No,
online?
but that's in my plans. The problem is finding the time to write the guidebook, because I have now like 85 cards in it or something.
Wow.
It's pretty extensive.
Yeah, so we have to wait to purchase it. I would love to see that.
I
Oh,
know it's on my 2025 list of to-dos.
okay. But
Yeah.
if we physically go to your shop, we can purchase it there?
No,
No, not
I don't
yet.
have it.
Oh,
It's just mine.
I
Yeah,
see.
I just have the cards
The
that I've
personal
created.
one.
Mm-hmm.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
Is Oracle kind of like runes? Like the rune stone, kind of like that?
Runes also are the same symbols
Okay.
on them, but runes, I mean, it's another divination tool. So, you can work with a pendulum if you want to do readings. You could work with runes. So those are a lot of times, a lot of people I know work with runes in addition to their oracle deck for like a little extra perspective, because the biggest thing is just understanding how to interpret the messages that are coming in, because a lot of times it is like pictures for the majority of readers that are in the third eye, and you have no idea why you're seeing, a little white dog, or you don't know why you're seeing whatever. So cards or runes can assist in that. Um, yeah, tarot, oracle, runes. I'm trying to think if there's any other ones that people commonly use.
What about those crystal grids? I've seen those.
Crystal grids are to amplify stuff. So
Oh,
you can make like these, well, you can also do them, yeah, amplify. I'm going to go with that because you can do like protection grids,
Oh,
manifestation grids. So really like protection, you're amplifying the protective qualities, I guess. Um, but people do use them a lot for manifestation, and you can get very specific with the types of crystals you use. You can buy like boards for them, but you don't even have to have boards. A really cool way is to go outside and incorporate elements of nature into them, and people will do like giant grids where they place crystals in, um, a lot of times like sacred geometrical patterns that are meant to amplify whatever intention. So they are really cool to work with for manifestation to start.
nice. For someone that's, I guess, new to frequency or energy, what's the best way for them to start incorporating this into their daily life?
Meditation. I am such a
Hmm.
broken record, but
No.
it's so true.
Mm.
It's such a strong foundation because
Hmm.
without meditation, we cannot understand mindfulness. And if you really put in the work with meditation, you can get to a place where you can find yourself in that neutral state in a second. I can go from, because of the work I've put in, I can be super flighty and just all over and really high energy and hyper, and then I can take it to a grounded, calm, mindful, super in the moment space, um, in an instant or in a breath. And the reason it's so important is because of the world we live in. That being mindful, so even like further than just meditation, but just mindfulness will help you with everything that kind of ails you, with understanding your body, being able to tune in so it can help you to be physically healthier, with anxiety because you're not focusing on the future, you are in the present moment. So anxiety disappears because anxiety is worrying about something you can't control. With depression, because depression is a lot of times a state of more thinking about the past or um, feeling just kind of hopeless about the future. But and depression is one of the hardest ones to get people to meditate because I know, like, I've battled depression and anxiety, and depression, yes, easier said than done when you are depressed. But again, that's why I push people to have different things in place and things that they know raise their vibration. So a lot of times I'll say, give yourself your human moment. So you go through like a really bad breakup and all you want to do is pull the covers over your head and stay in bed for 3 days. Well, I say, give your human self a day, a day to sit in bed, pull the covers up, watch movies, cry, eat ice cream, whatever you need to do. Then you say to yourself, after 24 hours, I'm starting all of these things that I know lift me up. I'm forcing myself to put on a guided meditation, even if the entire time I hate every second of it. And you just keep putting these actions into place. And instead of being depressed for 3 months, you're depressed for, a week. And you're able to kind of identify, and I think a part of that is to be able to be mindful enough that mindfulness kind of leads to truthfulness because we tell ourselves a lot of lies. We lie to ourselves all the time about everything. And if you can be honest about the shadow parts of yourself and start to identify when you are kind of like defaulting into, like for example, I very easily go into victim mentality. That's one of my, like, if I'm at work and I've been working all week and I start to, like, first I start to get bitter, and then all of a sudden, I find myself thinking thoughts where just woe is me. Everyone else doesn't care about me, and I'm, and then, but I started being honest with, that that's an easy place for me to go to. And when I do that, I talk to myself in my head, and I'm like, stop being the victim. Did anybody force you to open up this business and work your butt off and have, a full business and have a podcast and, all of this stuff? No. And like, this is you, and all you need is you. And I like force myself to back out of it, by whatever means. So, um, yeah, like if you are, again, just starting with finding all of this, chances are you've gone through some sort of spiritual awakening. In general, nobody seeks this sort of thing out unless they've had some sort of spiritual awakening. And perhaps you had one years ago and then you kind of put it on the back burner and then you're coming back to it, or you've had just a giant reckoning and you're just awake. Um, Again, set those foundations, the meditation, mindfulness, and from there you can add in the fun stuff. Once you feel like you have a good foundation, then you can start with your, manifesting, immediately incorporating the affirmations, trying to raise your vibration, raise your frequency. I like to encourage everyone to have some sort of relationship with source, or your angels, or guides, like whatever kind of calls to. If you want to start working with like spirit animals, if you want to work with archangels, the easiest archangel I have found to begin to work with, that's Archangel Michael, because he is our boots on the ground angel that, is basically here to assist mankind. An awesome archangel to work with. And then get some sort of relationship with your highest self, which is essentially, if you haven't heard that term, like our God self, our self that is completely neutral and can look at every perspective for the better good, not just for our good, but for everyone's better good. So by being able to tap into that, you can kind of see, like, why your marriage is crumbling, or by having that kind of connection, it can help you to pull yourself out of like the 3D, I like to say, this human dimension, and see things from more of a higher, elevated, godlike perspective. It doesn't fix anything, but it is extremely helpful. And again, another like spiritual tool to have to help you along your way, and soak up as many podcasts as possible.
Do you also work with herbs and things like that?
I don't. A little bit, but I'm not. It's I don't know. It's one of those rabbit holes I haven't super dove down. It's a lot, like all of the medicinal stuff. But I mean, I have in little like fun ways for manifestation, or when I've tried to work with different deities, because that's another thing that's kind of fun, if you feel the calling to do so. And different deities are associated with different herbs and things if you do offerings. But that's kind of as witchy as I get.
Okay.
I've played with that stuff. I don't know. It's not my jam, but I believe in it
Okay.
all.
Okay. What is your favorite tool to work with?
Probably, well, my highest self. I'm obsessed with my highest self. Everything through my highest self. And reading, or like oracle reading. Love it. But I do a lot of tarot reading at home too, but I just don't do it for other people. I like to do tarot reading just for myself and oracle for everyone else.
Wow. Why is that?
I don't know. I don't know. I find that, I think part of it is that tarot is so specific in
Mm,
what the meaning of the cards. So I stay out of my head more, because when we're giving ourselves readings, we tend to get in our heads about the result, or be like, oh, I didn't shuffle well enough, I'm going to pull another card or whatever, because you don't like the answer. But as I always say, the universe is cheeky, and then you'll get the same card oftentimes. But with reading other people, I like to know as little info as possible. So my oracle can allow me to like really go all over the place, as where I feel a little bit more structured with tarot. So I like it for me because it forces me to like really look in the mirror, you know?
Yeah. Do you believe that certain crystals maybe resonate better with specific frequencies?
I think that they do vibrate at different frequencies,
Mm,
yeah. But also that they are of higher frequency than us. Like it's almost like they are ancient alien technology that's been
mm.
given to us or something, you know, that is meant to help us elevate.
Yeah, I never thought of that. You're right. It's pretty cool. Yeah. Do you feel that the energy in our environment, such as maybe the place we live in, can affect our personal frequency?
Yes,
Mm,
in many different ways.
mm,
And one of the biggest challenges for people going through awakening or just spiritual beings in general is picking up energy from places and from people. And it's very, very underestimated how important your energy protection is. And my favorite way to tell people easily to just, you know, protect their own energy is like, for example, you go to the grocery store and someone just comes up and talks to you about their life. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be like anything drastic, like it doesn't have to be a dramatic story. Maybe it's just about their kid in college or something and they were like showing you something they're picking out for Christmas. Um, but for whatever reason, you go home and you're like, I'm exhausted. Why am I so exhausted? I only went to the store today, one place, and I'm exhausted. Well, you that person who spoke to you dumped all of their energy on you. And not as spiritual people, as healers, the more lit up and the more high in vibration you are, the more people are going to dump on you because instinctively they sense that you're going to help. They sense, and that's why people, it's like such a just dime a dozen story of people. People always come up and talk to me in the store. People always tell me their life story. Yes, because you are meant to heal and people intuitively understand that. So they come over and dump everything. They go home and like the person who said their story is like, I met somebody great at the store and I feel fantastic, you know, because they just dumped all this energy on you. So we have to be very aware that it doesn't have to be like a bad interaction to pick up energy. We can pick it up just even like kind of frantic energy, just people who are overly excited. Like that's also another reason why like with children being around like a lot of kids, it's exhausting because they have so much energy and it's just like, you know, draining ours. So I like to tell people to brush their bodies, like literally brush their bodies. Take your hands, brush your chest, brush your arms, brush your legs. Um, Really quick, like takes, you know, 30 seconds. And I like to just say, this energy is not my own. Return to the earth with love, you know. And some people like to like say, return to the sender with love, or just something along those lines that kind of resonates. And if I have a particularly heavy like we recently had a holiday open house and it was just interaction with tons of people and lots of readings and it was all positive, but I went home and I was just absolutely exhausted, so I made sure to take a bath, and I like to put salts in and I put them in with the intention of anything that's stuck to me that I don't need to be absorbed. The salts will pull it out. And then I even like to like get out and watch the water go down the drain and think of it, you know, it all leaving me. And you can do that in the shower too. It's an easy practice in the morning if you shower in the morning or maybe you shower at night. Either way, every single time you shower, you can picture that being cleansed of anything that you don't need. Anything you don't need just going down the drain. You can take that to so many different directions too, like even just powering up each chakra as it comes or just picturing like a golden light of healing that comes through. Um, and again, like watching things go down the drain. And all of these visualization techniques help maintain your energy so that you can be the best version that you can be, because we all default to much worse versions of ourselves when we are drained and we have nothing left to give. But yeah, we can absolutely pick up energy um, from people, from places, and also be uplifted by energy too. People's energy can uplift as well as places. There's a reason why there's certain places everyone travels to when they can, that they pray at or do different things, for wellness retreats that all go to one, um, mountaintop or whatever, because they have special energy. And I think that these spaces are all over. They're not only within us, but also placed all over the world. And because, like, basically we are a world in and of ourselves, and then there's the world and then the universe. I mean, we're all just kind of like mini universes. It's like everything's just repeated and mirrored.
True. That's awesome. So looking ahead, I guess, for 2025, what do you see that you would like to have accomplished? Do you have any projects coming up? Things like that?
I do. I am trying to get actually I have a proposal that I'm putting forth to investors at the beginning of 2025. And I have kind of like the next stage that I'm building of my business. And many people who have been meditating for a while have had a similar vision of what I can only describe as kind of like a grid, and like all of these hubs everywhere. And it feels very much like the spiritual community is plugging into one another. And so I'm kind of like making a hub. So hopefully more on that. I've been working on it for months now. And when those funds come in, we'll start rolling on it. And I want to share all of that with everyone and hopefully have this kind of spread everywhere, for
Yes.
everyone to be able to connect. But um, I also do think that just collectively that we are definitely rising in vibration, and that's the reason for all of the weird stuff everywhere. And just feeling like, I mean, we're definitely just timeline shifting constantly, and a lot of it is, I think, um, we we've always had control to a certain extent to manifest things. When we do it as a collective, it's very powerful, and that's the reason all of a sudden, we'll have all these Mandela effects and things, because I believe that as a collective, we've kind of chosen to take a different route or change something. And I think it's going to be happening more and more in 2025, because, a lot of us believe that the whole purpose is to have the human race evolve from the 3D up into the 5D, essentially becoming like a different dimensional species. So that's pretty deep to throw at you right at the end there, but ponder that in meditation
Yes.
and see what comes through
Yes.
for all of you.
Yeah. Where can our listeners find you and your work and your shop?
Yeah, my shop, again, is Holistic Healing and Crystals in Strongsville, Ohio. You can find my website at Holistic Healing Strongsville at, or I was going to give you my email, holistichealingstrongsville.com. My brain. And I swear, everything's been just so much lately. And I feel like everyone I talk to feels the same way. But
Yes.
And it's the second I start to pop out of mindfulness, I start thinking about like all these million different things, and then my brain is like a frazzled computer. Okay. Anyways, holistichealingstrongsville.com is my website. You can find anything that I'm doing there. You also can book things even if you're not in Strongsville. I do like Zoom readings and things like that. And my podcast, Rooted Frequency, is available anywhere you listen to podcasts, and also on YouTube, which I am about, like, I'm really close on YouTube to hitting 2,000 subscribers. I know. It's really exciting. It's like way more than I have on Spotify and all of those.
Yes.
So, yeah, that's really exciting. And I said, when I hit 2,000, I'm going to go live on YouTube and do live readings, because we did that at 1,000 and it was really fun.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Oh, that would be interesting. I'd love to join that when you do that. Please let me know.
Yeah, I will. And yeah, hopefully, like, once we hit 2,000, because on YouTube, which I'm new to the live stuff, but you can like schedule it so everyone can see like when you are planning to go live. So if you're interested in that, go follow me on YouTube and help me. I'm only like 200 away. So
wow, I will follow you for sure.
Yeah,
definitely. Thank you. Well, Tiffany, thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your wisdom. Oh my God, it's been so enjoyable. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I know our audience will as well. And I'd love to have you come back on this show to dive deeper into topics like, I think you talk about finding your purpose and Axis Mundi Oracle, and the tarot, unlocking your aura color, things like that. I mean, I have a list. Energy, vampires, awakening, calling. You speak about so many awesome things, and I would love to connect again if that's okay with you.
Absolutely. I'd love to be back.
And that brings us to an end of another episode. I want to thank my special guest, Tiffany Haney from Rooted Frequency Podcast, for joining us today. It's been such a pleasure to have her on the show to explore frequency, energy alignment, crystals, and intuition. If you've enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to follow, share, and leave a positive review. It really helps this podcast to grow and to reach more people like you out there who love this kind of conversations. So, again, guys, thank you so much. And if you are as intrigued as I am, please stay tuned for future episodes with Tiffany and I as we dive into topics like these. So, until the next time, guys, stay curious, stay grounded, and keep seeking the truth, because the truth is out there. Until the next time, guys, take care. Bye.
This whole town could be red by the end of the day. If you feel alright, we can throw it and drive. With the radio up so loud they can hear us from miles. Me and you, nothing to do. These days they come and go. Nothing to lose. I feel it in my soul. So let's let the good times roll. Down, we'll never come down. When the sun comes up, we'll be feeling how we do right now. My heart's on fire, coming down to the wire. While the world sleeps, we'll keep burning brighter and brighter. Me and you, nothing to do. These days they come and go. slow.